or hear us. I'm Sandeep Menon. With me, we have Orko down and we have Abby as well, the usual suspects. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
For the podcast people, Orko did say hello. So let's start with the biggest tournament that is happening at the moment, the Hero Super Cup, which is having the controversies are very silent, but the matches have been quite good. So I'm just going to come to Abby. Uh, let's not go through every single match. Anything that stand out to you so far about the football that we have been witnessing so far?
I think, like you mentioned, it's probably the pace of the games. It's been nice. It kind of feels like, the thing that we keep discussing, that as the season goes by, these guys keep playing and get used to playing together and playing at a certain intensity. So that kind of is reflecting in the Super Cup. Of course, we already know that. In terms of the difference with Indian players specifically in say ISL and I League is not that great, and that's something that we have witnessed in the tournament as well. So I think overall it's been things that we have already seen, and some things that I feel we are seeing developing in terms of how the players have been able to play.
Am I? Oh, okay. I'm audible now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about you, Orko? Let's. What did you think so far? And bear in mind that this is happening in my hometown, so negative comments will not be received very well.
Mm. I think, yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's good to see few upsets, if you can call them upsets. Won't call Srinidhi's run, but against two matches. Won't call them upset. They've always been defensively good. And I think Castellan are also good. So I think as we speak, I think East Bengal are pulling off a major one. They are leading 3-1 for Hyderabad. Mm, even Goa's game against Jamshedpur were entertaining, but it's again like it's just two more nails in the coffin for Pena. And allowing Jamshedpur to score five is not a good look at all. So I think overall, I think even my enthusiasm for the Super Cup hasn't been great. It just like feels like an end of season thing, which is it's coming after the season's excitement is over. So would have been nice if the ISL final and the Super Cup final were within a few days of each other, you know, so that the crescendo builds up to the hype. There's a cup final. There are two essentially finals back to back. Instead, even I think some teams are also putting out experimental lineups, so that's good to see. And I think very good to see Mumbai City playing all Indian players. I think it's a very good
Yeah,
thing.
I think they've been getting some stick also for it, but
Why?
I think
Why? I don't understand.
exactly. I think that is a really stupid thing to say
I saw
because
I saw one journalist in particular.
exactly I saw that as well,
Yeah.
among others. But I think that's a good move, right? Like they have nothing really riding on this. They have the Champions League already.
Yeah.
Get the kids out, give them all the players who didn't play much, like all these
Ayush
VP Singh.
Chitara, Gurkirat.
Yeah, give them a run out. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
you never know, right? You might discover a couple of hidden gems. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, this group, like I remember talking to Simon before they went to the Super Cup. I remember telling him like this group is very tough. I think this is probably the toughest group, but people are not giving it the respect it deserves because number one and two from the I League, two best teams, extremely defensively sound teams, and with great strikers up front. Both teams have a really good striker also, and then you have two teams, Kerala and Bangalore, who were neck and neck in the league. It's not like one was first and the other was sixth or anything.
No,
They
but
were,
but I think till the end of the league, I think Bengaluru had pulled clear of KBFC. Look at the form the last 10.
how about KBSC dipped at the same time, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You look at the
Their
form.
away form was bad. I assume that go playing at home or at least in Kerala, they would have a lot more support.
Yeah.
But one of the I remember talking to somebody on Twitter and asking about the crowd turnout. So it seems it's not as much as they generally thought would turn out. Last year, Santosh Trophy, we saw the kind of sound people that turned out. The numbers are not that strong, and I think little bit of the blame has to go to media as well, because we didn't really publicize and go out of our way to say that this kind of event is there, and the importance of this event, and how there is an AFC Cup spot sort of that carrot is being dangled as well. So I think we have to take some blame for that. But organizationally, I'll ask Abby, how do you think about it? There are quite a few tweets and quite a few videos and complaints. Constantine saying he had to travel 2.5 hours for a press conference, and Mohan Bagan getting those packages into a good sort of, we call it, and I think a very lame, like a Naikurkan we call it. So I think that was it. I don't remember exactly, but not a great organizationally done, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think we've seen quite a lot of complaints regarding the organization bit and everything. Um, Sometimes I also feel people just put to like, for example, your off the field stuff that is happening, or with, if sometimes it's like if your on field performances are not great, you a lot of times you like try and divert attention to the other bits as well. So sometimes it's that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are organizational faults. I mean, I'm not really surprised with them. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the fact that it's been organized, I'm not sure how, honestly, I'm not sure how much time they had to prepare uh, to host the tournament and to actually decide the entire schedule and everything. So I think that is also something that matters. I mean, that's something, if we would know, we would have a more clear idea, and probably we'll be able to make more, informed judgment basis that. But yeah, I mean, given the complaints, I think these are the kind of complaints that we hear pretty much every now and then in different tournaments. So I personally believe that that is something that they need to work on overall, in terms of the amount of travel that people have to do in, the limited amount of time that you get. But yeah, in terms of organization overall, I feel, I mean, there are not enough grounds that are worked on throughout the year, and that kind of reflects when you go to different places and you have to play on multiple grounds.
And I went to the AMS in December, which is like 3 months back. It looked like a ghost stadium. Looked like it was falling apart. Honestly, I don't think it's
Always
fit.
look like that, dude. It's a romance of that stadium.
Yeah, but there's a thin line between romance and spectator safety. you know, so
Yes, it
uh,
is a little iffy. Yeah.
it's. I mean, the word for it is rickety. That's the word. Rundown.
Yes.
This was the word I'd use for it.
Yeah, but that part, I think one thing we that I kept harping on about this organization is AIFF would have given logistical finances for them to look after things. And one Volvo bus would have been enough for ATK Mohan Bagan to take all the luggage and people there. Very normal, every match they get the same. So if you haven't done those things, and there are other issues people are saying, then it has to fall on the KFA why they are silent, and even more importantly, why is AIFF silent? Of all the things, last you can criticize the other regime, right? But if a complaint comes, they were always very careful about how it looked to the outside
Uh-huh.
world, so they would always jump on
See,
it.
also one thing also, right? Uh, the AFF is not conducting India's top tier league, right? That means the Super Cup. I mean, and it's a fair assumption, and Abrishman, you can back me up, because men's football has always had higher priority over women's football, right? So Super Cup automatically becomes the most important tournament they have to host in a year, correct? And so, I mean, this is shoddy. I mean, there's no other word for it. It's not like you worked hard the entire season and then you had to, you had to host like a like the just a cup tournament. No, this is what you should have been preparing for, because this is your tournament. This is the AFFs, right? It's not FSJ, AFFs. And again, like I said, I mean, there's 100 things that can be pointed again at the AFF. People will again say this is why you need marketing and commercial partners, because of this absolute noob show, right?
Yeah, but let's hope the football can offset that. At least so far, I've enjoyed the games. Um, I quite like it when an I League team rubs shoulders with ISL, and like I don't subscribe to either theory that ISL is that better or I League is that better.
No,
It's
you know
a
what?
lot closer. I think everybody
I
is
was
just
part of the
around.
theory. I had that feeling as well, that that Indian players were like 1920. But as in more and
Hmm.
more ISL analysts you speak to, or general people, right? It seems like the gap between ISL and I League is finally increasing, right?
It's showing
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
it's showing up. It's showing.
I think a lot of it is also got to do with the coaching that these really top guys are getting, like a Des Buckingham,
Ah,
like Juan
yeah,
Fernando,
for sure.
all these
For
guys.
sure. Like you can't compete with those guys, for sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, just in the terms of Indian players also, right? And for 8 9 seasons we've said, hey, they're just 1920, like 19-20 hai. That's the Hindi term we would for, right? The 1920. But finally it feels like the gap is starting to show. Otherwise, why would, like, I mean, and we know that scouting has always been bad, but I mean, it's come to a point where ISL teams are willing to sign reserves from other ISL teams, but will not go in for top performers from the I League. I mean,
I League.
case in point is like Vidyasagar Singh, right? Scored 12 goals in the I League, right? A long time, some and Indians had double digits in the I League. Went to two teams, did not curry favor at either of the teams, right? So yeah, I mean, and this is a natural order of things. The second division is always weaker than the first division. That is the natural order of things. So finally, I think we are getting to a point, and I would say because then it reflects well on the entire system. That finally, it seems like the natural order of things is falling into place.
Yeah, and one person I wanted to see transition into ISL is Falguni Singh. He went to the worst possible club at that time. He's had a good season. Let's see what he can do now. But moving on to the next topic, National Women's Football Championship has been going on. The first round is over. I have watched a few of the games in Karnataka. Karnataka playing. So I wanted to get your opinion on it. Now. Obviously, this is not the top part of the um women's football food chain. But Abby, coming to you first, like what would you think of the level that you've seen and the fact that there are some surprises coming into the next round as well?
Um, I think in terms of the level of games that it has been, some of them have been good, some of them have been pretty usual. I would say I have not seen some like a drastic improvement in terms of gameplay or anything. It's pretty usual in that sense, something that been seeing for the last maybe couple of years. Um, so I wouldn't say uh, like two like very amazing games or something like that. There've been a few goals or moments here and there. I do believe that you're starting to see some teams try and play with a lot more brain than others. So, yeah, I mean, I would hope that that translates to every other team and, all the coaches that are out there. But yeah, overall, I think it's been fine. I don't necessarily feel that the result of the first stage has been very surprising. I think it were the usual ones that we expected. I mean, some people still, if like some people who have not been following the women's game too much would probably feel that why is Goa behind? But I mean, Goa has been down for some time now. Uh, so I mean, it started to happen in men's football, boys football, men's football now. So yeah, and women's football, it's been like that for some time. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the results of the group stage, I'm not really surprised.
My surprise was mostly that Karnataka has qualified, not because they can't, but they finished as one of the better second place teams. So going in, I was not very confident because Manipur. I saw that Manipur is much better, dude. But then they played very well against that team, surprisingly.
See,
And
I think the veneer of infallibility around Manipur is slightly disappearing. Against Assam, also they needed like a last minute goal to sneak it, and Assam had scored. Assam had scored two, but then you look at the team sheet, and you realize that Assam is like Manipur B, right? Yeah. Uh, Essentially, Manipur and Haryana have fielded two teams, and Manipur, I think, have fielded. I mean, Karnataka has more.
Karnataka has Manipur players.
Karnataka
Yeah.
has Manipur players, okay. And
That goal scorer, a lot of goals he scored.
I mean, honestly, I mean, I'm just going to call bullshit on the whole Karnataka state affair. I mean, they do this way too often. They get way too much credit, and I mean, the Zenseg is a good acquaintance, but I'm just going to call bullshit. I mean, they do this way too often across here, and this whole rule of you can represent any state that you play your club football for, it's kind of bullshit. I mean,
But see, when you have that rule,
mm,
you can't call bullshit on anybody because that's the rule. The great West Bengal teams who won Santosh Trophy had a lot of players from that side. Great Railways teams had a lot of
and all
players from that
played.
side.
Tulsidas Balram and all played for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
IM Vijayan played.
huh.
So
Manveer, see,
all the Arumai Nayagam from then only was
Lord
playing. So
Manveer became Lord after scoring winner for Bengal.
yes,
Santosh
exactly.
Trophy only.
So
And
I think if you are going to change it, you should change it
yeah,
properly.
but
Like
but I
every team
think
should be asked to
yeah,
do that.
to Joshua's comment, right? And like I said, I mean, I'm just going to slightly differ. I think there are two surprises.
Wait a second. I'll just put the comment
Yeah,
on the.
I think Chhattisgarh. No, not this. The other one. I think Chhattisgarh was a surprise for me. They tried to do a few things, and the coach I know really well. He's a smart guy. But I mean, and it was the core of that Mata Rukmani team. So I'm really surprised they didn't do so well. Right? They finished fourth in the group, I think fourth or third. And this was Delhi's group, so I was obviously personally invested because two of the girls we know for like so long have played in that team. Again, like I said, one of them was as expected, like she was the star of that group, right? But still, she still won't get an under 20 call up. It's not going to happen. Now, our system is not built for smart decision makers. It's not unless she grows like by 2 feet and has like a tombstone finisher move. She will not get called up for sure. Then the other surprise for me, and you must have watched this team, is Mizoram. Like fall from last year is, yeah, but then again, Karnataka with all their poaching of Mizo players is very like I think they all played for, which was the club, Kemp FC. They mostly played for Kemp, and the other club they played for,
Misaka they played.
Misaka, they played, right? And then Misaka, I'm hearing things like they played all Mizo players in KWL, but they don't have the budget to play them in IW. I don't know what's happening there, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, this is I think a very good point. Like we'll talk about the next round as and when those matches get kicked off,
So,
and
but
we'll see into that.
I mean,
But
so I messaged Tete also. I'm like, Tete, and we are very good friends, right? Because I mean, nobody has personally like seen Mizo football grow as much as I have, and I have huge respect for the guy for what he's done for Mizo football, right? But I said, Tete, like your women's program is shit, and Tete agreed. Tete,
no, he told me this earlier also. Like we are lagging
we're
behind in
lying on,
women's game.
and that's a sign
He
of a
knows.
good administrator that
Hmm.
he's very blatantly upfront about it. Like he's very
Yeah, when I
blatant.
asked him, he said there are women. But then he's like, we're trying to fix it, but it's a little difficult. But you're working on
But
it.
you know,
We need more grounds, is what one of the things that he
so
wants
even
more than
without
anything else.
even without that, right? They produced a team which made the semifinals last year, and then
Hmm.
predictably they got ripped apart this year because like Delhi, Mizoram, Delhi, Karnataka, places where people are too lazy to develop their own players. They just stole those players, right? Delhi, unsurprisingly, has a mixture of players from all around, right? And honestly, despite that, that is a team which should be doing much better. They lost to Jharkhand. I saw, and it was some atrocious decision making. Like, it was just
Very, yeah.
too bad. And like, I actually, like I said, I shouldn't play favorites. And even, like I said, even I thought, like, even Ruchi playing for that team did not have her best games. They did not didn't She did not have her best games because and like the commentator went gaga commented like, oh, what a player, ye wo, ye wo. But I was like, this is probably she played probably at 40% of her level or 50% of her level. So I mean, the coaches again, like, and I've always said this, the coaching in the women's game is very poor, right? It's those people who can't cut it in the men's game, they go to the women's game, right? I'm talking about the male coaches. That is mostly what happens, and that is not a good reason enough for you to be coaching a team, right? And I mean, we often complain that the men's Santosh Trophy is unwatchable. This was also pretty unwatchable for me. Like, I'm not going to patronize because just for the women's game, I'm not that type. So I'm not going to do that. Right? They're taking shots from like 40 meters, 50 meters. I think maybe they were drawing inspiration from a particular Indian right back. Who also, I think everybody knows who I'm talking about, right? Scored one goal once and now can't stop shooting from that range. I mean, typical brainlessness. But yeah, I mean, my point is that uh, the the standard hasn't really improved. It hasn't improved. I hope the final round produces more decisive games. They haven't announced the qualifiers yet. They haven't announced the methodology yet. I think Haryana football put out something, but I'm not sure whether to agree or disagree because some groups have 6-5-4, so we don't know what methodology they're going with. We don't want to assume anything also, right? Because and but I mean, all it takes is one calculator. I don't know why it's taking so many
Yeah,
days.
I think this is a good segue into the next round because the EC meeting is going to happen tomorrow at the AFF, and there are a couple of discussions that has come up. We've got a couple of questions about the same as well. One from Roshan and some more have come, basically asking about minimum wage for women players that is on the agenda and launch. So there are two parts. So let's start the minimum wage thing. Abby, how do you think is good or bad? I'm going to ask it very clearly because I know which direction it's going. So I'm just going to ask you: do you think it's good or bad for women's football?
Uh, Honestly, I think it's a double-edged sword because see, I feel it's kind of difficult and bad for the clubs, the women's football clubs only, right? Because they don't have the kind of funds that they would need for overall giving it to people. But in terms of actually trying to give and make women's football a career, it is very important. M- Most of the IWL teams still do not pay their players, which is pathetic, to be very honest, because I mean, even if it's not their fault that the league is just 1 month, not even 1 month, but I just mean to say ये करके basic idea देके, but the point is, if the league is that short, it's not their fault. They should still be paid for it, and most of the teams do not pay the players, and they only take care of like stay a bit, maybe some take care of the travel, foods, and stay mostly, which is not enough. Again, like we discussed, I think we discussed this the previous time as well, it just doesn't make women's football a very good career choice, which is why you see that kind of attrition that you see in women's football. So, in terms of trying to make it a career, I think it's extremely important to have at a minimum wage. I am not sure the amount that it is going to be, because in the times that we live, I think we all understand the minimum wage that we require, to lead a proper life. But again, I am not sure how many clubs will be able to afford even like very basic salaries for women's players. So it's a very, honestly, it's a very difficult place to be in. But I do think that there should be a minimum wage, primarily because I don't see women's football improving or it taking center stage if there is no pay for the players.
Yeah. So, Abby, I want to ask you on follow up on here because uh, clubs, some of them at least, are not very keen on this. That's what I've been hearing. So, coming into the situation, to give a minimum wage, it seems reasonable. But at the same time, when you look at the thing, how do you make? So, right now, how do players make money? How to survive when they're not getting paid? And how do you? Is there any middle ground that you can see in the situation?
Right now they don't really make money. They a lot of these players obviously are supported by their parents, and just allowed to go out there and play and follow the game that they want to without expecting any real return. So and if otherwise they probably find jobs which are sports oriented, but it's not essentially making money out of the game. To be very honest, they have to find other ways to earn. So this essentially not earning from the game per se. In terms of finding that middle ground, I think it's going to be extremely important. I think it's going to be extremely crucial to find that middle ground, because it is going to be extremely difficult for the clubs to manage. We don't see any sort of returns in women's football there, because again, I think just to segue a little into the previous conversation that we were also having, we are starting to see that gaps in Manipur women's football. The reason for it is not enough games. There was a time when Manipur women used to play a whole lot of games, a lot more than their counterparts in other states. It's it's gone down severely, and that is why we are seeing those football.
Do you know why it's gone down?
Because it's just that, see, there were lots of rules early on, right? Like they used to play a lot of short tournaments and games around the men's tournaments. They would always have women's games. These things have started going down. There's not enough play for enough games for them, and that is why they are suffering in that sense. I think in terms of management, it's not been done very well, which is why I feel it's that you see that drop. So, yeah, so that is why I was saying, in terms of actually uh, the clubs lasting, the clubs trying to get returns, it doesn't happen in women's football, and it's a very tricky situation. There will be clubs who can definitely afford. There are clubs who can definitely afford, but then I think, especially if you see in senior women's NFC or in IWL, there are lots of women's only clubs which have been running without any returns. So for them, especially, it's going to be very difficult. But again, I think that they have to find a middle ground. I mean, I don't think that there are any two ways about the fact that they need to find that middle ground, because the women need to be paid. It's as simple as that.
So, Orko, here's a question I have for you. The situation, like Abby mentioned, is not great, even at the top of the pyramid for IWL women's football in general. You already saw Kerala Blasters, I think, shut down their women's division less than a year after they announced they're starting. Not even a year, because they can't afford to. I guess they can't
Or
afford
did they
to do that.
announce? Did they announce it?
I think I read somewhere that they are not
No,
doing it.
this is
Maybe
a
officially they haven't announced. But anyway,
yeah.
what I wanted to ask is, what is an incentive for a club like Gokulam to spend, or a club like Odisha to spend so much on women's football? And if when now that they're spending, how do you keep them spending,
Uh, there's no,
or get others to spend as well?
there's no incentive. There's no incentive right now. And I mean, I've seen the salary discussion. Honestly, I mean, I just want to say, just putting doctor in front of someone's name doesn't make him an expert, right? This it's I mean, some of us have been involved for some time, and like, I mean, we know that this is uh what do you say? This is an ill thought out move, right? It's going to kill clubs like Mata Rukmani, for example, right? Sirvodem, us, if you know, if I was also with SFC, and we had ever made to the IWL, we surely would have been disqualified, right? They're going to kill a lot of community clubs. I mean, and this again seems like a stunt, similar to the one where they announced that they're going to ban somebody from a Tripura club for match for age fraud, right? Whereas their whole backyard's full of those people. Like the whole national teams are full of those people, but they chose some poor guy somewhere, in some nondescript league to be a scapegoat, right? And the answer to all of this, I agree, women players should be paid. They should be paid. What is solution to this? Solution to this slightly long term. Grow the game commercially. That is the only solution for it, right? Have do you have a even do you have a deck for the IWL? Are you going to potential sponsors, right? Or are you again going to Mr. Munjal and saying, Mr. Munjal, you already do nine national tournaments. Hero already does this much. Why don't you just pick up the IWL as well, right? At this point in time, essentially, if Mr. Munjal decides, oh no, you know what, I'm not going to put in any more money into your crap game, all of the national tournaments lose their sponsorship. So I mean, it's one of the 15 points I put up on Twitter saying there are enough and more companies that are run by women entrepreneurs. But I'm not going to expand on that. I'm not the AFF head of strategy. They have hired one. Take care. I would love for him to come on this show once and have this debate with him face to face as to what his strategy actually is, right? They can't be holding clubs to a gun and saying pay them, right? So what is a minimum wage? If they say you have to pay 5,000 per month, I know men players from the second division who would come up and say, boss, we are not getting paid that much. It's a whole can of worms waiting to open. I know I league teams which pay players 60,000 for the year, 60,000 rupees, 5,000 per month. They'll come and say, boss, what about us also, right? So like I said, I'm not a PhD, but I mean, I mean, it's not in my hands also, right? These are some great decisions that are being taken, but let's see what the exco decides. They have to grow it commercially. That's no other answer. Otherwise, there is no solution. And Odisha FC, someone asked, do they play? They're paying much. They're paying the highest salaries right now, right? Even Gokulam are not trying to compete with them because they are going bonkers, right? So it's not. Well, the only incentive for women is to go play outside the country right now. They might actually make some money and might save a little bit, not much, but might save a little bit.
On that note, you can go back and check our exclusive with Manisha Kalyan, which I think was the first time she spoke to anybody in India after she won. Subsequently, I think she's given a few interviews, but that was the
Yeah,
first one.
a lot of them.
I'm not someone who beats the chest a lot, but I think that's the way to do things now. But yeah, anyway, getting people from AFF on injury time, we'll try, but certain people's Twitter fingers are causing some problems here. But anyway, uh, so institutional league is another thing that is in discussion. This I've heard. Not institutional teams playing in a league. AIFFAC might discuss institutional league with public sector teams, like your former ITIs, MEGs, and stuff like that. I really don't know what is the interest from a crowd point of view that will be within the system, within the league to have these teams are okay. We've seen it not only in India, right? Like Iraq has Al Al Jawiya, which is Air Force Club, and April 20 or something from
April 25 is the
yeah,
military club.
North Korean team. So it's not unheard of, but they play within the system. Are
All
either of you
CSCA
going to
teams.
be interested in a league of these teams?
Huh. I
You,
I think I think because at one point in time these teams used to be there in Indian football, like Indian Bank, ITI, and all of these HL and
yeah.
all of these units and all of these. And in fact, I mean, more and more corporates want to showcase that way, right? And more there are younger CEOs and CTOs who do play football, like at least once a week, right? So there are people who are, right. I mean,
But we're
one
talking
good.
about public sector, not private sector.
No, I'm saying private sector also, right? The private sector also does not mind fielding a team, right? Even at the state level. I'm just saying both.
Exactly. But we're talking here about public sector.
No, I'm saying okay, fine. Public sector, yes, they used to field
And
a team.
private sector is already doing it, right?
Pri-
Sort of.
Private sector is already doing it, but there are a lot of what do you say? There are a lot of drawbacks. For example, you can't have in the topmost league, you can't have the corporate name, right? And that's essentially what they're doing it for. You think Round Glass Punjab is doing it for? Are they doing it for Punjab or are they doing it for Round Glass? Ask yourself, right? I mean, just leave the romanticism aside. Just ask yourself: are they doing it for Round Glass or doing it for Punjab? Right? Gokulam Kerala, are they doing it for Gokulam or are they doing it for Kerala? Ask. So there are some things. I think PSUs definitely, and I've said this. A lot of our friends who are the actual experts, in Indian football, they have also said this, that licensing killed PSUs, and 100% agree with that. Right. I am also saying, just tying it back to the previous discussion, that is also a very good way for women players to sustain themselves, right? Because I know railways gives jobs, I know income tax gives jobs. So I was speaking to somebody from Assam, and they were like, the team that's representing Assam plays for a battalion called as the Tezpur Rifles. They are the winners of the Tezpur division, and that's why they what do you say, qualified to represent Assam. So things like this, I think PSUs are answer to a lot of sustainability problems when it comes to player salaries, right? And
Here is
they
the interesting bit, right?
Hmm.
This I don't know if they'll actually do anything about it. But this discussion comes at a time when we had a story, I think it was an exclusive on page one, about how army is no longer really focusing on putting money into these teams. They are shutting down more and more. They are actually asking them to do focus more on their work rather than only the cream of the crop. Maybe you'll have the army reds or one army
Assam
team.
Rifles,
We
Assam.
might have one or two, but most
Hmm.
of them might army green and all those ones will
Hmm.
probably wither away in the next 2 3 years because they are trying to
Hmm.
revamp because they're spending a lot of money on army personals who are
Ah,
not really doing anything. So
ah.
you might end up being in a situation like HL shut down. Now they've come back to super division, but HL for a while they had shut down.
Hmm.
ITI, that team is no longer
when
relevant. MEG
when
is
you
one of the
when you look at the IWL, there are so
hmm,
many institutions that are played there. You
hmm,
have the SSB team which is played there.
Manipur police.
The Manipur Police which is played there.
Yeah.
You have CISF which participates in the Punjab league, I think. So you have a lot of these teams. They have interest. Sometimes they have commanders, or sometimes they have people who have interests to grow these divisions, right? But boy, it depends on sustainable, depends on the finances available. Like, I mean, a lot of it is up in the air. But like I said, I think PSUs can pay higher than,
They can.
barring maybe 16, 15 teams in the whole country. I think you look at Sudeva, Neroka, Trav, a PSU will definitely pay them higher than what these clubs are offering their Indians, for sure. Yeah.
Just have to say one thing. I think when we were discussing about the fact that they are discussing institutional leagues, not necessarily institutional teams,
Hmm.
uh, play, playing, say, in mainstream, right? I personally don't think institutional leagues is a very good idea, not to begin with, for sure.
I
I
agree.
think I think they should, ideally, if they're looking at like bringing back the institutional teams and everything, I think that is a fantastic idea. But you should allow them in the mainstream first, and then they should go with it, play there regularly, and then if they feel like, we want to give our teams more games, they can obviously engage in institutional leagues and have games in and around. But to begin with, trying to have an institutional league, I don't think that makes sense. I think the first step would be to bring back institutional teams, because I think, especially in women's games, I think regular participation, if we are seeing on in the top you know in the top level, I think it's only railways and SSB. But yeah, so I think bringing back the institutional teams would be a far better idea than trying to go for institutional leagues. I don't know why that's even been put as a thought.
Yeah, I agree with absolutely with Abby. I don't think they will have the same crowd pull that you would think. But anyway, I prefer institutional teams to leagues. And now we will switch to some questions that happened and a few other discussions. I think we are keeping in time to finish in less than an hour, hopefully. There's a question: will Round Glass Punjab play in Delhi? Probably, or in I heard also Ahmedabad or Ludhiana. They can play in Ludhiana as well.
What is this? What map are you drawing? First
No,
you're saying Ludhiana, then you're saying
they
then
have all these options. They haven't decided where to go, but they can't play where they're playing right now.
yeah.
That's it. If they, I mean, it looks like they are getting into the ISL.
Oh no, it's
All
like
systems go. I
it's
think.
like me when I go out drinking at Connaught Place. I don't know which option only to choose. Like so many options are there.
But
I have
this
no
is my problem, right? Like when you
idea.
move to a situation, I get why ISL wants you to have certain levels, right? I absolutely understand. But if you uproot a team from Punjab and play them in any other state, it doesn't have the same feel. Like you can say that Delhi has no team, so they people will come and watch. It doesn't. You can't have a name like
Delhi has
Rounders
a team.
Punjab.
It's called Delhi FC. They're not playing in Delhi. They are ironically playing in Punjab right now. So
Yeah. No, I'm saying from the ISL standpoint, they'll say they have no team here or here. But when you have a different name, with different state, how does it? I don't know, man. It doesn't make any
No,
sense to me.
makes no sense at
it's
all.
fine. Rajasthan United was this year, and NCR United.
Hmm.
They they played here. So Delhi is like this Airbnb for clubs. People come, they stay for some time, and then they screw off from here. They're like, we're done.
I just love that comparison.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to steal that. But yeah, there was an interview that was done with our former General Secretary Kushal Das. Did you guys get a chance to read it? Is there anything that he said moving Santosh Trophy out of India did not make sense? I sort of agree with that.
Hmm.
Uh, Anything else that you guys agreed on? 'Cause I'll read one quote though, since I think Orko's looking up the interview. But in the meantime, I'll read a quote from Kushal Das. It said, the operative plan really should not exceed the term of the elected committee, which is 4 years. Since after every 4 years, new panel may come in have different ideas, achieving a vision and the mission. I have never heard anything that is more
Bizarre.
disturbing than that statement in my life.
मतलब you just have a 4 year plan, ठीक है?
Yeah.
But somebody can come, then 4 years later, somebody else can come in and completely revamp the whole thing and be like, wow, we have done something different. It's so stupid.
He's gone on to give some reason and all, okay. Like in the subsequent
Stupid.
paragraph
How did
saying
you even think like that?
different different planning committee should do different things and all. But to have at any level to have 4 year plan is just uh, shocking for me at
I
least.
mean, he's honestly, how he is saying is, they तो did not even have a 1 year plan. He is
Hmm.
saying 4 साल लेके चलो मेरे टाइम पे तो एक भी नहीं था. He is
Um,
looking at it like that, but it's bizarre. I've not heard somebody make a more bizarre statement than this, saying कि भाई every 4 years everything can change. It's so stupid. How do you do that? It's like misuse of funds. It's literally misuse of funds. Then if you're putting uh, a lot of funds and hard work into you know one direction, and then 4 years later you say we are scrapping this direction. We are taking a completely different turn. It's so bizarre.
All India Planning Committee. Then these are the Niti Ayog of football. That's what this is, right? And but why are you surprised? We always known this, right? We always known
yeah.
these are. So I mean, what is this symbol
I
of,
mean,
right?
I thought once you are off the power and you're on the other side, no, you might actually say something to hurt the other team. Like, you should not have. You had only a 4 year plan. You should have long term plan or something. But these guys have got ahead and said 2047. So what do you do?
Nay, and I know someone very beautifully messaged me. They said they don't know what to do with in April 2023, and they're talking about 2047 someone, and it made me genuinely laugh out loud. But and it's true, these are all indicators of that, right? Institute minimum pay for you have two options, right? Institute minimum pay for women's football, or grow the game commercially, right? One is a long term, more sustainable, more viable option, right? The other is going to open a can of worms, right? But it's an instant impact thing, right? So what did they choose? They chose the instant impact thing. So I mean, he might, his words might come across shocking, but is it though? Is it
It
really a
is
shock?
not. Not. I just thought when you're in the opposition, you have free reign to say whatever, right? And why would you shoot yourself in the foot?
I mean, he also knows one day. I mean, one day you might find him back also. I mean,
Yeah, there
stranger
is.
things have happened. I mean, people who I thought were going to definitely going to at least get some stick by the law. Today they are running academies and all, and 100 CR academies and all they are running. So I had heard those people had fled the country only, and now they're back. So
Yeah,
I,
like I said, Indian football is the only place where you can fail upwards
hmm,
and consistently also. Like you can
consistent.
fail from here all the way up to the top.
Mm-hmm.
So
Our,
we've seen some
our
new names
our
coming.
our dear old friend has become head of media at AFF. I'm hearing like our old buddy, and I'm sure he does not like any of us, right? So and Abhi's face is shocked. Abhi is
I,
shocked.
I personally don't know him actually much.
I know.
Yeah.
I am very 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 aware. No, no,
Same.
not not Jaideep Basuda. Although he is also from all accounts has stopped tweeting, but this is an old player who has become head of communication, director of media. I am hearing. Finally, they have a director. I think they
This
must.
this actually brings full circle. Wasim has asked on Twitter, "What is happening at AIFF? What is the
By the
outcome of
Kushal Das
Mass
also
decide?"
said the same thing. We said we were the first ones to say it again.
Yeah, exactly. Go back 2 months.
2 3 months.
Yeah, we said call this out back then only,
Yeah, the mass resignation. Yeah, I mean, and he's
which
saying the mass.
nobody knew. How is it that no, or if people knew, they didn't say a word. Only we both were yapping on about it, saying,
There are some journalist accounts masquerading as PR accounts. They will never say. They know what's happening, right? But their job is to be an unofficial mouthpiece for the federation. They're now going to say. And then there's us, who who will do like 1,000 due diligences before putting it out in print. But we can say it, and now like Kushal Das anyway said it. So
yeah.
like yeah, so
So what is the effect of this mass
resignation.
resignation?
It's not
Maybe one
resignation.
of the effect what you see is what
Hmm.
is happening with
Super Cup.
organization Super Cup,
Super Cup.
because the people who used to do that is no
Wait,
longer there.
wait, wait for the IWL.
Yeah,
Wait
yeah,
for the IWL. You wait for it.
yeah. That'll be a lot
Is
more.
that
And that department has, barring one nepotism case, I think the whole department has changed. I think, right? uh but that nepotism case is there because I mean, when you look at Indian footballs again, women's football content again, it's three or two or three faces again. So I'm pretty sure they are still there doing family publicity. So
Hmm.
yeah. Huh.
Now let's move on to other questions that are having. I picked up a few from Twitter and stuff like that. Alvaro has asked, "What is Ravi cooking up at FC Goa?" I heard
Stories
some
power.
massive stuff is going to happen there, guys. Some signings that will blow your mind is going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
happen over there.
Mm.
Obviously, we know about the coach. We know Sandesh is coming in. We know somebody else also. We know, right?
Sandesh is going to Goa. What? That's a
Yeah,
match made in heaven, and not
yeah.
not because.
But you know what? I was thinking about this,
Hmm.
and everybody who has heard me talk, I am not the biggest fan of Sandesh,
Hmm.
but this season he has actually been really good for Bangalore FC. I don't know if he'll do the same thing with the demand that Manolo is going to put on him to pass the ball and all that stuff, because we saw what happened with Adil Khan at that time when he was in Hyderabad. Who I really thought Adil was a big leader for that team the season before, but Sandesh, I think it's a challenge for him at this stage in his career. But considering the season he had this year, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
You know what? They are making some of the most divisive signings ever, right? Udanta, if it and I known that they known wanted Udanta for 3 seasons, and
Yeah.
I've always had
Yesterday,
a
for the first time in 2 3 years, I saw him play really well. Udanta.
Yeah,
But
and
again, he needs to take a shot, man. In front of the goal, he's always looking for that square ball. Sometimes you take the shot.
I mean, yeah, Udanta maybe has 1 or 2 seasons in him. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said,
But I
I
think
mean,
you're looking at him more like a direct option.
sure.
With
For me,
speed.
he's a slight upgrade on Len Downwell. That's it.
Fair
Right?
enough.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
Goa is going to make some massive signings.
yeah, I mean, Sandesh. I mean, see, you know what? There are points for and against it also, right? Uh, he's obviously going to help the local economy. Then you have the fact that there is no other person that they can turn to, right? Because there's a paucity of center backs, the paucity of proven center backs who can play, right?
They
Uh,
lost Anwar Ali, right? If they
they lost Anwar Ali.
hold on
They
to
let,
him,
they let Sana go 2-3 years ago, and then he proved himself. Um, then there are others. I know particular fan base rates them, but when your coach drops your Indian centre back for a must-win playoff game, I think that speaks volumes about your coach. Don't even talk to me about those players playing for the national team. If your coach isn't even starting them in a playoff game, right? Uh, so
yeah, I
there
think
are
Sampath has just asked this question, right? Players like Jackie Chand, Adil Khan were contracted by the clubs and not registered yet.
Hmm.
Any reason for that? I mean,
Uh,
is Jackie still with
no,
Mumbai
no,
or
no,
Jamshedpur?
no. I think Jackie, because I think Jackie's time is done. I think what the problem is that they gave Jackie a long term contract and then he
Hmm.
didn't work out, right? Didn't work out. Similar to Adil Khan also. Adil Khan had a 3 year contract at HFC and they want to loan him out. So those were in hindsight, those were the best deals, right?
Yeah.
So and yeah, like I said, Jackie. I mean, we knew he was kind of getting done, so
Hmm.
you know.
But
But
yeah, I mean, I agree with Shubham. Sandesh should have stayed at BFC. They were playing to
yeah,
his strength.
but like I
Yeah.
said, I mean, just coming back to the Don Ravi thing, right? I think this is one summer we won't invite him or we won't have a lot of discussions with him because I think we'll let him be.
Yeah.
Poor guy stuck his neck out on this show last year also, and it wasn't completely his fault. Also, I'd say
No, I mean that they had the squad.
they
I
had
mean,
the squad, they
they
had
had the
everything.
squad.
They were third before the World Cup started, so and they were seventh at the end of it. So,
Yeah, they had the
uh,
squad. I think it did not work as what they
yeah,
thought it would
I think,
look
and I think the Pena project is dying a horrible death. Like I'm seeing the Jamshedpur result, I think was very difficult to probably stomach for them also, right? I mean, but at this point in time, they're probably already looking forward to the next season, which they do anyway. Once the season starts, the good thing with them is they are always planning for the next season.
yeah.
Plan A, B, C, D, E,
Yeah.
F is
And
always ready. And yeah, I mean,
Like
good luck
last
to
year,
him.
I remember talking to somebody, and not many non-Goans go to Goa and become stars. If you look at their main team, most of them are Goans. When people from outside Goa go there, for some reason it hasn't always worked out. So I think they have done quite a lot of due diligence to get the right characters in this time, because now you'll hear in the next.
Anwar did well for himself.
Anwar did.
Anwar didn't.
Anwar did.
I think Ayush
Ayush
Dev
Khetri,
is a
I'm
fantastic
not going to say anything. 1 year only. Let's see what
1 year
he
only,
does.
but I think it's a fantastic
He's
signing.
a great
It's
player.
1 year only,
You know, another coach had scouted him and told him much before the season started, saying, "Look out for this kid. He's going to be a star."
oh, really? Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. Is he a friend of the pods?
yeah, yeah, of course.
Okay, figured. Okay, uh, yeah. But I mean, I've seen the kid for 5 years.
Hmm.
I saw Ayush Dev Chaudhary first play when I visited Aizawl way back, and I didn't put a name to the face, but I'd seen the guy, and my God, like I mean, I was like, this kid might just be the best midfielder in India one day. Like such tremendous tissues, right? I think, and then when I was at the club, we were looking at the Mizoram team playing under 17, and there was one more, which I think they've signed to the reserves, and I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if that kid also goes on to be like a baller, like an absolute baller. But Ayush Dev Chetri, I think I don't think I've seen because we say the gap between ISL and I League is increasing, right?
Hmm.
Adjusting that quickly
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
is is
Massive.
is, is insane, and
Yeah.
like I said, there are good things also that are cooking for FC Goa also.
Yeah, they
Right?
have quite a few players down the
Bryson,
line
yeah, I
on the
mean
way also.
Bryson was a silver lining. So was Ayush Dev Chetri. I mean, and see that's what I'm saying. As long as that pipeline is there, right, there is very little to worry about.
And also, you see this from Goa, right? Every year they sell players for money
Uh,
because they have developed somebody to a position where they're able to sell. They sold Anwar, they sold
mm,
Liston before. Yasir
mm,
left, unfortunate circumstances with
mm,
whatever happened over there at the
mm.
time. So they are able to sell players on also and make money. Ishan Pandita looks like $1 million deal for them now. I mean, it always felt that way, but it absolutely worked out for them like gangbusters.
I don't know what the clubs are. Anyway, like I said, we can't
They
now. He
have this boy Mohammad Nabil who is a good player, but he's just not staying fit. If he stays fit, we'll see if he's good enough or what is the situation with him.
Yes, actually, I'm going to Aryan's this thing, and Josh was right. Move on time for Lobera Saga. It's probably right. But Aryan Sampa saying, don't think Goa made any of that. That's actually not true. I think Goa made a substantial.
Gomez.
Yeah, Goa made some money off the transfer fee. That was one of the clauses in the loan deal. So, yeah. I mean, like I said,
What
they've
is the time for Lobera Saga? What does that mean?
la, if
Oh, the current
yeah,
situation is good.
which Rosogolla will he opt for? Will he opt for the Odia Rosogolla or
I
the
mean,
Bengali?
this is I want to ask this, right? Odisha FC, like we always look at them thinking, are they doing long term planning or short term planning? I really don't know. It looks somewhere in the middle. They got Gambao back saying that he has been here, he's headed the project, he is doing this. Why would you let him go? And then go for Lobera, who apparently was in discussion with East Bengal. Now, what is East Bengal doing? They wanted a draft in between so that
Hmm.
they could get some good Indian players also. What
I'm,
does that even mean?
I've seen a lot of commentary around Lobera or everything,
Heard
and
some stories about Lobera also.
I mean, I've heard some stories about Lobera. I've a lot of things, lot of I've seen a lot of this thing, and I've seen he wants control of the team and all of that. I'm just going to throw one word out there: agency. That's it. I'm just going to say that one word, and I'm going to leave it at that. If anyone who wants to find out more can dig on their own.
Just check with what happened in Mumbai. Precisely if you want to put the two and two together.
Good.
Yeah.
That's it.
But anyway, now let's see where he goes. I mean, if East Bengal lose him, it's an embarrassment. And if Odisha get him, I really don't know what their project is going to be next year. They've signed Diego Mauricio on a long-term deal. Anybody else? I'm not sure because Lobera needs the players who plays to his style also. So that's a lot of outlay that they will have to come up with as well in terms of their foreign signings. And yes, Irene, you're not wrong. But yeah, the other question that happened was as AF Exco meeting, what are they likely to change or improve? I think that we have touched on. Any news on Kochi Sport City project? I don't have. I haven't kept up with that. And Aryan's question: discuss Mumbai's glorious season, qualifying for ACL again, playing with
Discussed
an
so
Indian
many
spot
times,
super.
bro. Discussed
What
more.
a what a baller team! What a baller coach!
Yeah.
Mumbai, great coach. It's amazing that he's been signed on for another couple of years.
Mm,
I thought he was 1 foot out the door.
mm,
That was a great option for him, but
Yeah.
brilliant that they've retained him.
mm,
Brilliant that he's going to improve those
mm.
players. Champions League. If you really look at what Dessa's project, it really started last year at the Champions League.
It did.
That's when the
It
team
did.
sort of
Yeah.
started playing well.
Shit.
And what I loved about Des is he came in, he had a really expensive goalkeeper. He didn't think that was worth it.
Chucked him.
90% of the coaches would have still kept on for a long time, chucked him. Purba came in. Purba justified it. I thought he should have started the game in Manipur. Unfortunate that he didn't, but his national call up is right there. I mean, even Gurpreet said during that semi-final that that guy had a phenomenal game. And
Mm,
Gurpreet made the penalty save, but in the game, Purva was just unbelievable. Some of the saves he made, unbelievable. Good with the feet. So I
mm.
like the fact that Des comes in, sees it's meritocracy with him, which I'm a
It
massive fan of.
Fair,
I think it's just that the ability of him to make these bold moves and take these decisions and not think about the money that has been spent or something. I think that's very commendable because I am not sure a lot of coaches around the world, honestly, have it in them to, put aside the money and really think about what would be best for the team in terms of the game. So yeah, I personally think this is really commendable.
I think you can also take Chinmay Shekhar Datta's question to just round up.
I'm just checking. I can't see it. What is the
It's
question? You read it out.
um essentially the question is that there are a few questions. Ashwin Gopinath is, if the panel could coach one ISL team, which one
Goa.
would it be? Goa for sure, because
What about you, Abby?
given the youth, yeah, same.
Same, yeah. I think all of
Because
us,
all of us chose Goa.
yeah, yeah. All of us are on the same
I'm
wavelength.
not. I'm not saying this as a fan, but I think they are one of the best run clubs,
Yeah,
at
exactly.
least in terms of strategy and what they want to do, and they're well thought out.
Yeah, at least there won't be one man in a cloak saying, "Oh, you need to sign my players." At least that won't happen at that club. At least like there's a heights of transparency there. And like I said, I mean, other journalists have got lynched on for pointing it out to poor fans of certain clubs. So we
Oh
won't
yeah, 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 yeah.
we won't get into that. So much so that they've had to delete those tweets only. So we won't get into that. And now they were being proven right, because now officials are coming out and saying, some things are happening inside the club that so but and Chinma Shekhar Datta's question is, do you guys feel we can go through to the knockout rounds of the upcoming Asian Cup? We are in pot 4, so no.
I don't think so, but I'm just going to hope.
No, I also hope to try and catch those games live, and hope is all we have in a bleak world. But AFC Women's Olympic qualifiers, we're in pot 4. AFC Asian Cup, we're in pot 4. And really, guys, pot 4 is potty. That is the that is the word for
The
it,
death
because
of us.
yeah, it's going to be death of us, like, and Bangladesh are also suffering from a similar problem, whereas they always they're having rapid strides in women's football, but they're also again getting stuck in pot 4s everywhere. uh in I think in 2019 we were the last team in pot 2. We actually got a manageable draw, and
Hmm.
i would say I would say our draw in 2024 is going to be somewhere between what we got in 2011 and 2019. And but we also might get a 2011 draw, and if we get that draw, then I mean, I just hope we don't get that draw. That's it.
Yeah, and I'm looking for. You know what I'm looking forward to most next season? AFC Champions League in India. The three games at least we'll get that. But I don't think they can play in Mumbai Arena though. So we have to think about where they're going to play. I'm not really sure, but anyway, that's the one that I'm looking forward to. Asian Cup, obviously, we'll see what happens. Next month is the draw. I hope we get South Korea or Japan, man. I really want to see us play against them, because anyone who you pick from pot one is a loss only. So might as well play the absolute best. Iran, I've seen them play, so I'm not that keen on watching India play Iran. But South Korea or Japan would be amazing. And yes, Orko does need a shave. I agree. Yes.
Blasio Mascarenhas is saying,
Any club chasing
is any club
Constantine
chasing
sticking?
constant? I mean, ideally they should, because I mean, this is still a guy with immense experience in Indian football, understanding knowledge. But I'm saying, like, his antiques and his outbursts this month especially, may not have done him any favors, I think.
But that is in some way something that often repeats with Constantine. Even with the national team,
Yeah,
at the end he would say things
I know
like,
we had this discussion. Yeah.
yeah, the comment about the travel for 2.5 hours to go for a press conference, everything. It's equally pointed at the club as much as it is at the
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
hosting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I
I,
don't know.
I mean, I think pretty much when you asked me about this organizational bit, it was that in my head when I said that when things are not going right for you on the field, you just
Mm.
try to
Yeah,
put the blame on anything that is in front of you, and I
yeah.
just think that's just sour grapes. It's like you're not getting what you want, and you're just going and hitting at other things.
So
Now
and
Abby has two questions here.
yeah.
One is from Joshua saying, "What happened to Lynn? Is Shreya and Soumya the first choices for
No,
dinner week?"
Panthoy is back in the scene. Yo, it's Panthoy. How
Yeah,
can you
so
not be a fan? Like, I'm
yeah,
a fan. I'm a fan.
Pansoy is
Will she
back.
start?
She should. She
I
really
I
should.
think I
I
think
said, "Will she start?" Not
No,
should
she
she
won't.
start.
No, she won't
no.
because I'll give you the rationale, right? And because I'm somebody who's always been team Panthoy, right? And that's essentially because if you see India's other goalkeepers play, you'll know why I'm team team Panthoy also. But this is a girl who can play with both feet. That's a rarity in Indian football. Forget women's football. She's probably the only one in women's football. But in men, take men's football also. It's a rarity. This is a girl who has insane reflexes. Like shot stopping is top notch. She won't start because there's a lot of rust. This is a girl who was severely injured and did not get proper rehab facilities. Right. What we are seeing right now is we're seeing probably 40% of what Panthoy was before injury. Right. She went to peak performance, which is like a proper rehab center 3 years after injury. That's like 2 years, 10 months too late.
Yeah, that's detrimental basically too.
Yeah. So I mean, some of the effects didn't turn permanent, right? Um,
Yeah.
Shreya
So
Hooda,
Abby, what about the others?
yeah,
See, I honestly think Soumya, I find her slightly better than Shreya. But I don't necessarily feel that either of them display the confidence that they need to in front of the goal. More than their skill sets, which I supremely believe they need to work at. I just feel that their confidence level in front of the goal, as in to set their wall, to take positions that they need to take, especially when they are defending against set pieces, when they have a lot of players in the box in front of them, it's very important for a goalkeeper to have that confidence in your area and be able to take charge of it and command the others. I think that is missing with both of them. And I think that is something, if they work at that, I think the rest of it will follow. So, which is where I have that slight disconnect with them. I don't rate Lintoy as a goalkeeper very well, but I still think that she is better than Shreya and Soumya. And perhaps she would be my second choice after Panthoy.
Okay. Abby, one more question is there. Your take on Bajaj's revelation of match fixing in I League 2.
not surprised.
Yeah. See, I am not surprised. See, honestly, it's something that happens, okay? And it happens at a lot of levels. It's because it is something that he has spoken about, that it is in spotlight. I think that is something Orko and I have personally pointed out at a different level as well. Something that was not, taken seriously at all. But yeah,
We
so,
we've been victims
yeah.
of this.
So
So
I think in terms of revelations, we will see how this pans out. It's a conversation that keeps happening, and it is something that happens. I'm not surprised. I would honestly want to see what action they're able to take and how they actually, you know, take this up and see where they can go with solving the matter or trying to nip it in the bud. I think that would be a very interesting thing to see. I'm not surprised with the revelations coming in because, I mean, it's being in
Yes.
the system, you kind of know that it happens. So,
Yeah. And even beyond this, we obviously Marcus wrote
Also,
two articles of the last 2 years in Goa, how there was match fixing. The harder part to write about match fixing is most of it happens towards the end of the season, right? In very local level leagues and all. And they
mm,
want to save from relegation or something. And some one team will be fairly safe, they have nothing to play for. You can't argue. Why would you say like suddenly they field 11 different players and they usually field? It's their prerogative to do it also. It's a very like a difficult thing to write about, but there are instances, there are obvious cases of match fixing that has happened before, and I think at that level it's difficult to police also.
I honestly, like I said, it's very difficult to police, but it's very easy to spot. I've seen it. Like, I mean, I'm not afraid to say Delhi is like a hub for this, right? Sorry, should I take Joshua's question as well? So,
Sure.
but yeah, just moving on to Joshua's question. Before that, just saying this, very big questions over the integrity partner, right? And their so-called partnerships, relationships, business relationships with high-end officials. And on this pod, we've asked questions of that in this pod. Go back, let's say, was it Sandeep? Was it last September? I think it
Yeah,
was
somewhere on that time we found out some stuff, no, you
yeah,
remember?
we found us some stuff. We shared it. We shared it, and I mean, obviously, 15-year-olds who use Twitter as a platform to abuse will not get it, right? And neither are we one of those pods. Also,
Hmm.
you know which one I'm talking about. So we, like I said, we pulled out some massive stuff. We pulled out some massive stuff, and I mean, nobody else, anybody seen the show knows what we're talking about, right?
Yes, fairly
We
clear.
it's there in the public domain, by the way. All of this is there in the public domain, by the way, right? And the person at the other end had no answers and to say, all this is negative, right? That's all. That's all. Those are all the answers that came our way, right? Joshua was asking August and Twitter the prime that current WNT again. Yes, it's true. Unless and until there are newer players, and trust me, Joshua, like I said, I am the most pessimistic person in Indian football, but there are players who could, must play in the team ahead of players who are currently playing there, right? I'm just going to give this example, right? And my friend Kevin Kishore from Gokulam is not going to be happy. Uh, like he has Martin Thokchom, NLB plays Shilki Devi, but there's a player called Baby Sana who's not featuring anywhere in the conversation. I've never understood this. MVP of last year's nationals, like what a Rolls Royce, what a Rolls Royce of a player, like absolutely that.
I just think personally that there is not enough thought put behind who you're taking. It is literally like, acha, if somebody has played a couple of extra games at a junior level, you'll just pick that person without really trying to judge how they actually play. And I think that's a massive gap that we have in especially in women's football. Um because I feel because of that, a lot of people get left behind where because there is not enough thought put behind what would actually be good for the game or would actually take the team forward. It is literally just trying to place people who you think are okay and who can speak and who can give interviews and who can just keep moving forward in the team, like we've discussed this, right? Like
Yeah,
you, if you have 11 players in under age group team, you just keep recycling them and just
yeah,
shift them to different age groups. It's just bizarre. How can you
yeah.
have
I mean, you're tinkering around with I mean, Shilki's reward for having an absolutely disastrous under 20 SAF campaign was to get promoted. I mean, it's I don't understand it. Don't understand it. And when we
basis the
said the think tank,
performances sorry
yeah,
basis
when
the
we said
performances that she gave,
yeah,
she should have been uh, put like she should have been actually told to work a lot more on her skill set and understand what she was actually doing on the ground rather than actually promoting her. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, and I mean barrage of articles on AFF also during the time AFF, the Asian Cup also, and similarly Astam played for the this thing, but again Astam's performance during the under 20 left a lot to be questioned, right? So this women's team is at a similar point to what Constantine's team was when he joined India for the second time. It was 5 years too late. There were performers who were still there based on legacy performances. And then what Constant did is after the whole World Cup qualifying campaign, he just chucked them one by one by one. He produced a newer set of Nursery, for example, came through the new set, right? This team needs a similar reset. And just saying this, there are there are better decision makers at every level, be it for the under 17 women's team or under 20 or senior team. There are don't know if that get selected also. Under 17 team also, people are like, oh, we won fair play. We came third in the SAF Cup, right? Out of a group of five. So, I mean, yeah. And also, honestly, the better players probably aren't even born, right? Uh,
If
maybe the
if they get early training and the kind of training
Yeah,
they should be
yeah, yeah.
getting.
You start now. You might see us. For example, for now, losing 3-2 against Uzbekistan is our glass ceiling. That's where we are currently, right? We should not expect more than that. And sorry to say, the rankings are just an eye wash, right? Bangladesh are ranked what, and they defeated us 3-0 in SAF. So, uh, not going to go by that, right?
And
Jordan, yeah,
I think in recent times we've been shown enough mirror when it comes to where we belong in the women's
in
game.
India played Jordan two matches and 2-1 and 0-0, right? And Jordan someone not starting too long ago, taking women's football seriously. So yeah, I mean
So
for
let
sure,
me,
yeah, yeah,
no, I was just sorry starting to wrap up. Ritayan, your question about round glass has been answered earlier, so please have a look at that.
yeah.
In the forthcoming episodes, we'll try to bring more such interesting conversation. I did an interview with Irfan Yadvad. Let me write the story probably this week, maybe
Hmm.
tomorrow, day after. After that, let me listen to the interview and see if it is worth a podcast. Yeah, I'll
You
make
might
it as a
might want
podcast.
to tell people who Irfan, not just to
Irfan,
assume everybody knows who Irfan, and I know who he is. I'm just
no,
saying.
Irfan is a player, is a striker for FC Bangalore United. He was a top scorer in the Super Division. I think he top scored in the, or at least
Yes,
he
yes,
definitely scored in the final of the, and he's
yeah, yeah,
currently
yeah,
on top of the goal scoring charts in the second division as well.
yeah.
So the discussion was mostly, Indian strikers are not there. Now this guy is very interesting. He's slightly younger than Devendra Majgaonkar, but they both
Murgaon.
came through the Goa League.
Majgaonkar is BFC media manager.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry,
Murgaonkar.
Murugaonkar. So yeah, he came. Both of them came through the Goa levels. He's from South Goa, so he had it a lot harder to get opportunities. But
Salgaonkar. Salgaonkar, if I'm not
yeah, he
mistaken.
came through Salgaonkar in his teens. Was a centre back,
Mm.
became a striker, and then he's not stopped scoring.
Mm.
He's got very good movement, which is what attracted my
Mm.
attention when I was watching him. And he constantly makes those movements.
Smart
So
player.
smart
Smart.
player.
Smart
And
player.
I think he has the potential to go up to the next level, but I'm really not going to push, too many things up.
There was a similar player who was performing really well, called Rahul Paswan. He was performing really well in the Calcutta Football League, and he got selected for East Bengal in the January window. I think last season and did not play at all. I think now again has moved back. So I won't say any strikers problem. It's just that in the top two leagues in India, you don't get a chance to play as a striker at all.
Absolutely. And I think he clearly told me that I want to play striker. I don't want to play in the wing. I don't want to play as a midfielder. I want to play as a striker. And second division doesn't have any foreign strikers. So obviously that has helped him a lot. And Joshua, you're absolutely right. I keep silent during women's football discussion because people smarter than me are talking and I don't need to muddy the water. Yeah. I mean, I know a little bit, but it's like a
But
drop in
if
the
you
ocean.
put a doctor in front of your name, you also might become smart. I'm just saying, right?
I'm working towards it.
Yes,
So,
okay. Hmm.
anyway, thank you so much, guys. We'll come back next
I
week
just
with
want to
more.
wrap up by saying we just want to take a moment to remember Joaquim Jaju Fernandez, the father of
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon.
Brandon Fernandez. Our thoughts are with Brandon, FC Goa, the whole Fernandez family, and GFA. From my time at Goa, I remember Jaju, somebody who was very invested in football. It's very rare to find somebody, and it just seemed happened to be that it's also Brandon's father. His interest did not start after Brandon started playing football, right? And as you know, like I said, thoughts with them, and we hope and pray that they get out of this with more strength. Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, so all thoughts with them.
Yeah.
Hope they do better in the future, feel better.
Also, let us know in the comments who you want us to bring on the pod. Like, we
Yes,
want
do
someone.
and or reply under the tweet. So we'll work on that because we are trying, but
Yeah,
there was some stuff going in our personal lives and careers, so we are just figuring that part out as well.
yeah.
But
Also, people don't like us for obvious reasons. Also,
I mean, they
but
like me because I am largely a unproblematic person.
I feel like you're saying I'm problematic. But I take it with a
I
take
mean,
it
if
with
that's
a
what you heard.
I take it with a badge of honor. But yeah, fine.
But anyway, we'll come back to that soon. We'll try and do as many special episodes as possible. Orko got Manisha Kalyan recently, so obviously that was, I thought, a great catch, a great interview as well. So we'll try to keep doing the same thing. So do like,
We're also working on a pod to try and get the person who facilitated Manisha. He's also had other Indian girls also, and it's a I think just going to be very interesting discussion because we're trying to find out from him what exactly will it take for women to play outside India, right? And what are the benchmarks? And so I think for me personally, it's a very exciting discussion waiting to be had with Mark Ruano. That's his name. We're trying to get him onto the pod. And I probably shouldn't have announced it because the last time we did a pod with Manisha, everybody just copied us and everybody just immediately did like 1,500 interviews with her. But
yeah.
still,
But
uh,
this is to be absolutely true in the coming months. A
mm,
lot more will be done around the podcast. Not just this, we are also thinking of doing some other stuff around it. You'll keep you posted on social media what those are.
mm.
And yeah, so like, share, subscribe, okay, bell button, whatever button you have to press, please press all those things. And thank you, Abby. Thank you, Orko, for your time. And from a host who knows when to keep quiet, I'll see you soon. Enjoy the game.